Yes. It is another Wednesday. Welcome to Unapologetic with Eric King on WOVU 95.9 FM. And today we're going to have fun as usual. Once again, we are broadcasting live on Facebook. So if you go to Facebook, you can see me. One day we're going to get it to where we can broadcast on YouTube and all this other stuff. But for right now, we're just going to continue to broadcast live on Facebook and have some fun on that end. So today I have a very special guest. This young man, I actually met him accidentally. And what I mean by that is I was invited by the Glantons. Shout out to the Glantons, like I always do. Shout out to the people that I care about. Invited to an event, and I saw him and his wife receive an award from Growth Ops. And it was weird is I didn't reconnect with this young man till later on at a social gathering. At Justin Horton's event, Juneteenth event. So I would like to bring in and introduce the one, the only, the Cleveland native, Kevin Johnson. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I am wonderful. I am blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And you know what?
What's up?
I tell anybody, you call me young. That's a great thing. It's a great day. Thank you, brother.
Hey, you are very welcome, man. You are very welcome. For those that don't know, Kevin Johnson, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be professional and specific. So let's do this right. So Kevin Johnson is a thought leader, technologist, a philanthropist, and an advisor to boards. He had held multiple leader positions in the area of engineering, information technology, and association management. He has introduced a myriad of successful new products, solutions, innovations, business models into various markets on a highly competitive industry. He has a track record of developing businesses, initiatives, and I can go on all day. That is in the United States, in Europe, and Japan. He is a Cleveland native. He is currently the managing partner for Next Gen Interactive LLC. But let me tell you what I do actually also enjoy. That this man and his wife, they go and they travel and they go to different jazz festivals in different locations. That is the thing around the world. That is the thing that when you and I met, I know you got all these superlatives, and actually, in all honesty, I knew that you like to travel and jazz before I knew all of this.
Yeah.
So I would like to welcome you to the show, my man. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are a Cleveland native.
To be here.
You are. Thank you. You are a Cleveland native, and what I know about you, not only from your bio, also from those that know you as well, you like to enjoy not only what you do, but also helping out individuals. So before we jump into all of the things that you do, I need to know you. I need to know you and just understand. As a Cleveland native, there's a belief that we have to leave in order for us to thrive. You've been to Japan, you've been to Europe, you've seen all these things, but you're still here. Why are you still here?
Well, that's a very interesting, good question.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that I haven't always been here.
Okay.
I'm a Cleveland native.
Yes.
I was recruited out of here shortly after I got my undergraduate degree. So I was gone for almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, that was when most of my international work took place.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, you get out of America and look back on it, it looks a lot different.
Yeah.
And you get the perspectives of other people in other places, and you get to understand what's real about what's going on in those places versus what you're told here is going on in those places. Yeah. And so it was an eye-opening experience. But I came back to Cleveland in circa 2002. Mm-hmm. And I came back largely because my brother was it was just him and I. Mm-hmm. He was the principal caregiver. My parents were getting older. Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay. My model at that point was the internet and airport. If I had internet and airport, I'm good. Okay.
You were living it.
Yeah. I was a consultant. So, and I'm a strategist. So I'm good. But I came back here physically to help give my brother a hand to be here. Yeah. And quite frankly, I think I came back at a very pivotal time. Yeah. So I'll share this with you. Mm-hmm. When I left here as a young guy with an undergraduate degree, my mindset with respect to Cleveland and Northeast Ohio began with they.
Yeah.
How come they don't do this? What's going on? They, they don't, Now, I had knowledge, but I wasn't educated with respect to a lot of how, I'll say broadly, how things work.
Right, right.
So it was always they. When I came back in 2002, I decided if I'm going to spend some time here, it can't be they anymore.
Yeah.
It's got to be me.
Yeah.
And so I began charting my course at that point in time in actually understanding the mechanics of what goes on and how it takes place and what the change entities are and how to be engaged in the right places, not just anywhere, but in the right places. And that's been a strategy in and of itself, but it's been one that I think I've been pretty successful at, and I've kind of enjoyed the journey. But I love putting the onus on me. Because with any issue, the issue is from me first. What should I have done different? What could I do? All it begins with me. And so now I feel very good about understanding what I understand and being engaged where I'm engaged and how I'm engaged.
Go back to the caregiver part. In this day and age, that concept of caregiver is not necessarily there. What I hear, and we'll talk about this later on, you came back to provide care for your family, but in the things that I know that you do, you're also providing care to the community. When you look at your life, how you grew up, is that something that was caregiving was pivotal in how you were brought up?
No, it definitely wasn't. There were a number of things that weren't part of my upbringing. Religion wasn't really part of my upbringing. Caregiving wasn't part of my upbringing. Some of these things I just found along the way, and I've been blessed to have found them. I feel like I've lived a blessed life. I will tell you that some of them, like caregiving, came about from necessity. And so I came back in 2002. My parents were beginning to really show that slowing down those types of things. I came back to help my brother. My brother died in 2008.
Get out of here.
He died in 2008. Had I not been here in Cleveland, my parents would have had no one to look out for them. I mean, literally no one. And so beginning in 2008, I'm doing, I'm running my businesses, and I'm going to the grocery store, I'm going to the bank, I'm taking into the doctor's appointments. I'm just, I'm everything. And I just think about that because had I not come back here, it would have been a hot mess.
The thing that popped in my head when you said that is prior to certain incidents happening to our life, we believe we know us. We believe we have exercised every ounce of what, right? Because you have been, by that time you have been a world traveler, is that about right? So you have, you have exercised. What did you learn about yourself when you were put in that predicament to give care? So
I call that one word, and it is life itself. It's life. Life has all kinds of twists and turns. And what I began to hold on to was the faith that I had acquired earlier and began to build on. And that faith and that order of faith kept me through all of that. And so, yes, was it a duty? Was it something that I was actually very proud to do? I really was. You know, and I had some help as they got in their later stages. But at the end of the day, I would look at my parents, Eric, the last 5 years. And every time I saw them, every time I was with them, in my mind, it was, this could be the last time I see them. This could be the last time I talk to them. I had that view. And so with that view, the work of caregiving wasn't work. It was opportunities to engage, to make their life as easy as possible, to give back what they had given to me when I was a little kid and raising me. It was a chance to give some of that to them, just a little bit of that to them. So I looked at it as an honor. And that's important because it gets tough.
It does. And what was interesting is, in order to be a great leader, you have to know how to serve. And so, based off of what you've been through during that time, did you find that it made you a better leader of individuals or industries or whatever have you?
because at that time I had already started my first business in '99. One of the things I knew is that, I still say this to this day, it is always good to be a good employee before you become a good employer.
Right.
Because you get to understand and learn what's necessary to make a business run.
Right.
And you get to appreciate those people that you hire and what you're asking of them. It gives you a sense of fairness, a sense of demarc between your responsibility, my responsibility, and how to build teams. All of those types of things are important. So what I would say to you on that question is, my leadership was probably developed outside of the caregiving from my parents.
Okay.
It probably was, just because that's how that word life moved me. Yeah. I had to lead design teams. I had to lead departments, that type of thing. So the challenge for me, Eric, was that I never had a mentor.
Yeah.
That was a big challenge.
I was going to get into that later on, but
I never had a mentor. So I found a way to get a mentor.
Yeah.
Okay, which was my way, the way I went about it. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, because all that you do, the question is always, anytime, and we'll talk about this, as we move on, anytime that we do things, the question is, who poured into you so that you poured into other people? Yeah. But before we jump into that, you travel with a partner.
Yeah. And
when you chose your partner, you are two different individuals, right? You have two different personalities.
Yes.
When you connected and found someone to love, because you got married later in life.
Yes.
Okay. When you found, by the time that you got married, you had everything that that was a moniker of success. When you decided to choose a partner, what was the most important things for you in choosing the partner that you have now?
Number one, Eric, I'm so glad she's not here. So, because when some of this comes up, and this came up at something we were talking about this weekend. It's like her story and my story. Yeah. But look, honestly.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A lot of it was this. I had lived long enough, and I had seen enough that I knew that whomever that person might be needed to be able to hang where I am at and where I think I'm going. Right. And bidirectionally, I needed to be able to hang with them and where they're going. Okay, and that hang, particularly for a man, is to be able to have an equal and not get in their way, to be able to help but not hinder. I like to believe that we are that for each other, because she's got her world and I have mine. They intersect a little bit, but quite frankly, until the last 3 years, a lot of people didn't even know we were married. And a lot of that had to do, if you didn't know us socially, you wouldn't see us in the same
because you're in two different locations.
Well,
not when we met, but I got you.
We'd be in two different rooms. We're just in different locations. Because of that, we covered a lot of ground in Northeast Ohio.
So do you hear that? I want everyone who's out there looking for partnerships still, right? To understand that the goal of it is for two individuals to exist together. They were an individual beforehand, you were an individual beforehand, and so you existed together. Big shout out, can I say her name? Connie Constance Hill Johnson. Shout out to, because when we sat down and I was like, "That's your wife." She was very effervescent, very talkative, and I really enjoyed the time that we had.
That's Connie. But one of the things I tell people all the time is I said, look, and Connie was even more focused on this to hear her story. Connie actually created a checklist of things that she wanted in a husband.
That's what you need.
And I had it up here. She had it in right. Okay. I'm like,
she was out there checking.
Check. Brother liked to travel. Looks good, whatever. So it was all good. But I tell people all the time that when you get married, you have to understand that you're marrying a different person that was raised by different people in a different environment, et cetera, et cetera. You cannot marry yourself.
Yes.
So don't expect them to be you.
You can't find you and you can't find you and somebody else.
Exactly.
So go ahead.
You got to make sure you understand.
Yes.
And you can relate to that individual in a number of different facets, because that's what it's going to take to have sustainability.
For the amount of stuff that you do, you definitely need someone, a partner to, connect with you and also be your respite.
Yes.
We're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, we're going to jump into all the things that you do, and then we're going to flow from there. All right?
Excellent.
This is Unapologetic on WOVU 95.9 FM. Welcome back. We got Mr. Kevin Johnson, Cleveland native world traveler, has a partner who is effervescent. And once you decided to, settle down, come back home, you allowed yourself to expand more. Yes. And in allowing yourself to expand more, now at this time, you've had things that you've had already, right? You've done the thing that you wanted to do. You're a consultant. You're meeting people, but you decided to. And it looks like within the last 5 to 10 years, you created, so you're also the managing partner at NextGen Interactive LLC, which is a business-to-business technology consultant focused on helping clients understand the impact of technology. And so if you look at this idea of technology, if we look 10 years ago, the technology boom had already happened, and you decided that you wanted to provide value to this industry, to the technology industry. When you decided to look at this adding value of technology, of looking at AI, what were the questions you asked yourself before jumping, 2 feet into this thing called technology and this emerging business of AI, which has taken a large boom now?
Great question. So first of all, my strategy had leads, right? And so the issue was, what is the opportunity in this space? Okay. Opportunities are huge. And so one of the things you said, I want to modify. You said the technology boom had already happened. Truth of the matter is, we are in the midst of one of the most significant booms, if you would, in technology innovation that the world has ever seen. Right. And I feel blessed to understand it, and I feel blessed to play a role in it, and no matter how small that role is. There's a ton going on. The pace of change in technology is never as slow as it is today. Tomorrow it's faster, the day after it's faster. My partner in that business is David Brown, and he and I put NextGen together to basically take advantage of those opportunities that are there. So while we consult in what is called Industry 4.0, which includes AI and VR, virtual reality and augmented reality, all these types of things, we also added 3 product lines that are very important, because we wanted to not just have services, we wanted to have product. So those 3 product lines also are around the technology. So in one space, we have electric vehicle charging stations where we consult, but we also install and manage post-install. One of these spaces is a very, very high-end, large AI, AI-assisted commercial security, and that's a big issue, for large entities like airports and the like, right? And the third thing that we do is we do autonomous robotics. And so those are 3 areas, 3 lanes of product where we can provide value both in consulting but also in product. And those products in the robotics, we could be in a restaurant, we can be in a hospital, we can be front of house, we can be back of house. So it's just a matter of what the application is. And so we get to help consult on what is the best opportunity for your business to take advantage of this technology and to utilize some of these tools and solutions that are out there today.
A lot of people don't know that they know that the bio industry
Yes.
or the medical industry,
Yes.
Cleveland is top notch, but also the technology industry. Oddly enough, because of our weather, servers don't overheat here as much. And so there was, 5 to 10 years ago, a petition to bring in a lot more servers into the industry or into Cleveland, but they got some pushback. There also is pushback right now with automation. And so, the dock workers right now are going on strike.
Yes.
When you look at some of these things and this idea of automation, where's the ethics? Where does the ethics intersect with the automation? Because people, if you look at the strike right now, they're losing jobs. And I have an opinion about that, but my opinion don't matter because I'm just a therapist from Cleveland. With that said, what's the ethics intersection on automation when you see it relates to what is going on now?
So first of all, as a therapist in Cleveland, I happen to believe you've got a very high demand, high value occupation.
I feel that. Thank you.
A city that is on the up and come.
Thank you.
Okay,
yes.
This is our time in Cleveland.
Yes.
I am blessed to be in Cleveland at this point in time and play a role in what's going on here. I feel so fortunate to be here and be in a place where I can make a difference. If you're in Chicago, if you're in New York, it's too big. There's here in Cleveland, you can make an impact, and that's why it's such an important thing that we talk to people about and let them understand that you can do whatever you want right here and be as big as you want, and you can do it now, not tomorrow. Futureland is a shameless plug. Futureland is taking place downtown.
Which I'll be attending.
Tomorrow, tomorrow, you had to tell me what day it was when I walked in. But on Thursday through Saturday, Futureland is there, and that is a wonderful event for young entrepreneurs, particularly young minority entrepreneurs, and you get to see some young people that are doing a lot of wonderful things in technology. So I will segue back into what the question is at hand, which is this whole issue of automation, this whole issue of intelligence. And quite frankly, when you get down to it, your question really said, we have to ethically balance jobs with technology, right? People working. And there is a balance that has to be paid. Here's what happens. We're in this time period post-COVID where people's mindset on work has changed considerably. Before COVID, you had people who were working in jobs and they were whatever. Post-COVID, you have people gig work, they're doing 2 or 3, 4 things to do what they have to do. These people are not sitting at home. That was one of the popular myths that was held. Oh, they're lazy, they don't want to work, or they're getting government money. These people out here hustling. They get it done, but they feel more in control of their schedule. Okay?
Ownership of themselves.
Absolutely. But one of the things that also means is that the traditional employers can't find enough people. Okay? And that's how I had to reconcile some of the work we do with autonomous robots. Because our robots are not, we're approaching the Jetsons type of robot, right?
For real.
These things, they utilize AI, they utilize a lot of technology that allows them to actually operate pretty independently. And so when you put that type of solution in place, to your point, you don't need as many people. Right? They're replacing jobs. But I would argue that what I've seen is that the jobs a lot of them tend to replace are because employers don't have enough people there. Now, that's not to say that what you're saying is not real, because one of the things I argued about, change that. I had a discussion about because I had some think tank folks talking about, we're going to be able to use insight and be able to not let automation go to a certain point. I said, please hold on, stop. I've been in this for too long, and I'm going to give you the codified version, which is stop. Okay, the codified version was stop. I've seen too many times in my career that you will do anything to cut fixed costs.
You got that
and
right.
Automate processes.
So stop playing.
Stop playing.
Right.
Like you're doing suddenly.
Like you're doing something big altruistic.
You got ethics now. Okay, stop.
Right.
So I say that to say that we do have to think about this, but there's a reality that is bottom line driven in what I would call, the very various phases of capitalism.
Yeah.
This is arguably one of the most severe. America represents one of the most severe utilizations of capitalism in the world. There are other types of capitalism that aren't as unforgiving.
I was about to say that.
Okay.
Punishing. Let's go with the word punishing.
This is a punishing type of capitalism. And, look, I'm a capitalist, but at the same time, I realize the realities of what it means here and what it means in other places. And that's my earlier statement about when you get out of this country and look back. Okay, I mean, look, I got some friends in Europe, and they're smart as anybody here. Yeah. These folks, they're like, their vacation, you start talking about a week or two, what are you doing in a week? What's that?
You do a month.
You do at least a month.
A month, 6.
At least a month.
Right.
And they're not losing anything. They're leading in technology. They're leading. This whole thing is amazing when you actually take a look at it. And that's part of what I like to do.
And because, we haven't talked about the K&G group, which is a risk management.
Yeah.
But what I want to do before I pop into that is look at this idea. Is if you look in the mirror, or if anyone is watching online, you notice that you are black. I'm just kidding. But when we think of technology, when we think about everything that has gone on, I know when I was in the tech industry or when I was a programmer, I left and this is in 94, right? 90s. I left there because no one wanted to work with the black kid on C++ or Borland or anything like that. When you go into these rooms, first of all, how, coming from Cleveland, and how diverse our population is, how was it with you in transitioning from my man that was Tarbletter, right? Glenville
Tarbletter, baby.
Into these boardrooms to where, exactly, you in here, you got to more or less code switch on every aspect of who you are. And I know, code switch is a trigger word, but that's what, at times it's called. Yeah. You have to go into this room and not only deal with someone else's prejudice, you also have to deal with the information. So you got a twofold debate or argument or back and forth. Yeah. How do you handle that?
Easily.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's been learned over years. Yeah. Honestly, it's been learned over years. One of the things I learned as a young person, as a young professional, was that I needed to be successful. What was it going to take to be successful? Mm-hmm. And part of being successful was to understand the language in any room that I'm in. Mm-hmm. And so I quickly, as a young man, understood that I needed to have a pretty good grasp on a couple of languages. Okay, a couple of languages.
I got you.
One of which is the King's English. Okay, if you don't have a grasp on that, I mean, we can talk about keeping it real, we can talk about whatever, but I have to be successful. I have to be able to make a difference. I'm not just black. I'm unapologetically black. Mm-hmm.
And you are.
And I'm double
you are.
Too,
right.
Okay, so I'm a dark brother, and no matter what you think, when you walk in the room, that's what's seen first before I ever open my mouth. Yeah. So when I open my mouth, I've got to make sure that I'm on point.
110.
Okay.
110.
And so I structured my entire career so that when I walk in the room, first of all, my credentials are out in front of me.
Correct.
The fact that I'm in this room says something. Mm-hmm. And when I open my mouth, it says something. Yeah. Because I don't talk just to talk. Yeah. I don't talk just to say I'm in the room. But when I do have something to say, it's impact. Yeah. When I do make an impact, it has oftentimes to do with what's really important for our community. Yeah. And those are the types of rooms I want to be in.
The idea that you're intentional in that. So in other words, I mean, you can't solve an issue without having a goal. And in order to have a goal, you got to first set your intentions. Yes. Before we jump into some of your philanthropic work, how long ago did you set these intentions for yourself? Because once again, we're in this season, this fourth quarter of both those that have businesses and don't have businesses, they need to understand that you got a first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Fourth quarter is for planning for next year. And so we got to ask ourselves, what is our goal? What is our intentions? How long ago did you set these both goals, this intention or goals for yourself?
So I developed the skill set as a young professional. And so a lot of the time that I spent overseas, a lot of time that I spent growing up in the corporate space, I was developing the skill set. When I came back to Cleveland in 2002, undergrad, master's degree in TOE, business and management, I'm like, okay, I got tools. What are you going to do with them? And so then it became a matter of figuring what's the strategy to optimize your skill set. Because one of the things for me that's most important is, and Connie will tell you this, it's critical for me to be able to live my life in such a way that I can truly say, the answer to the question is in my work. And the question is, what difference did you make? What difference did you make? And there are a lot of folks who, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not laying aspersions anywhere, but it cannot. If it's just about you, that's okay. But I believe it's bigger than that. And I'm always looking at what else can we do. If it's just about me, that seems a little, it's a
little problematic at times.
But and I don't, one of my best friends was like, one of my best friends, he said, well, Kevin, I don't know how you do what you do. I'm glad you do it, but personally, I just don't give it. And I love this brother dearly, and I just laughed, and I said, I get it, brother.
He said you're doing too much, Kevin.
You're doing too much. You're doing too much. And my view is, if not me, then who?
Then who gonna do it?
If not now, then when?
So let's bounce on that. So let's transition, because you and your wife does a lot. So when you and your wife were recognized by the Cleveland Foundation for your philanthropic work. And when we think about, philanthropy, that's literally the idea of giving in multiple ways. And two of the best books that I read this year was The Go-Giver and The Give and Take. And I read those books because I had an issue with how I believe I was coming across to people. And what I thought was, in my process of dealing with some of my old demons, I purposefully met up with black males, right, for a complete year. And some of those black males connected, some of them didn't, and my assumption is because they, after reading the books, it was because they viewed me as a taker. And it was, but that was more that I had to deal with. But besides the points, when you're looking at this concept of philanthropic work or work in giving back, what made you say that, okay, or what level of life did you have to get to when you said, this is, okay, so now I'm, officially going to do philanthropic work and begin to get recognized for it?
Yeah, great question. Let me first say that it wasn't as intentional initially as it sounds. I mentioned my brother and the fact that he passed and I took care of my parents. Well, my brother and I were kind of diametrically opposed, okay? He was a social science man.
I was just about to say that.
Physical science man, okay? For me, if it didn't fit an equation, it didn't exist.
It ain't about to happen.
Okay, it was please. So a combination of what I saw him do over time in terms of caring about people, and what I saw from him with respect to religion and focus on God, what I saw from him with respect to, okay, this social side does have some value that I had no.
Oh, wow.
Brother Eric, I had no appreciation. I'm telling you, I had no appreciation.
I got you.
But once I started thinking about that, I started emulating. And one of the things that I found out very early on is that I felt better by helping people. Or by being engaged or helping to bring about an outcome that that changed lives.
It's weird how that happened, ain't it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But it was like a drug. And so what I found out about that was not only am I focused a bit, obviously, on me being successful, but I get a high out of creating an environment where other people thrive. That is very important to me. And so it was my brother who I emulated. And so you heard me say I never had any mentors.
Right.
But you know what I did?
Yeah.
I watched people.
Yeah.
And my brother was one of the first people that I watched because he was Lamont Johnson. He was 5 years older than I. And I would just see him do things. And because his interests were very different, it would just be curious to me. And so I just watch him.
Just
and that's,
okay,
that's interesting. I paid attention. And so throughout my life, because I didn't have a mentor, I began to watch people who I thought were killing it. They were just doing a great job or whatever. And I would say, I was a thief in the night. They never knew I was striking. but I was taking notes. And I was saying,
paying attention.
I'm incorporating. I'm incorporating.
Yeah. Okay. That's what you got to do.
And that's how, quite frankly, that's how a lot of this came about. Being able to take my lived experience, putting it together with what I thought was important and began to learn was important, and then understanding that, wow, I really love being able to do this. I like being able to help. And here's the other thing about me is you don't have to know about it.
Yeah, that's the part that I was going to say.
You have to know about it.
That's the thing. And the interesting part is you are one of the leaders in Cleveland for Black philanthropic work. And you're, after I
hadn't thought about that.
No, for real, you are. So you're intentional about working with the Black community and giving back. And a lot of times we do hear about the Cleveland Foundation, but we don't know who's behind the Cleveland Foundation at times. We hear about Jumpstart. We hear about, where we are right now in Burton Bell Carr.
Yes.
We also hear about Bill Gates and all these, other individuals that give. But what I want to say is you're working on a project. And tell us a little bit about the Soul of Philanthropy Cleveland.
Soul of Philanthropy. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I'll give you the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah.
My wife, by the way, she does the War and Peace version. I always do the condensed Reader's Digest version. Love my wife.
Shout out to the wife.
But you will get the Reader's Digest version, which is apropos for the time that we have. Bottom line is this: in circa 2018, there was this touring exhibit of Black philanthropy going around. Valeda Forward in North Carolina had this cocktail book and an exhibit that she had created with a photographer, Charles. I don't remember Charles's last name, but they were kind of touring, and they came into Cleveland and they were talking about something. And at that point, my wife Connie and our good friend Teleandre Thomas kind of saw this together and said, we need to bring this exhibit in its full form to Cleveland, Ohio. We got that done in 2019. That was the beginning of this thing that was the Soul of Philanthropy Cleveland. Because we took the Soul of Philanthropy exhibit, but we created value off of it. And that's something I was very focused on. I don't like one-offs.
Let me be clear. Let me say it specifically.
Like
it's the Soul of Philanthropy Cleveland. And because of
TSOPCLE.
Right.
Just say TSOPCLE.
So I really want to make sure that people know that. My question is, why Black philanthropy?
First of all, we wanted to make sure that the face of philanthropy was one that was truthful.
Okay.
So one of the things we know is that we were always seen, we meaning the African American community, was often seen as an entity that was always had their hand out. That's not the case. That's really not the case. And I'm gonna just do something while I'm talking, but at the end of the day, we wanted to let our people, Black people, and brown people for that matter, we wanted people to understand that you too are philanthropists. You have to understand what philanthropy is. So we start talking about time, talent, and treasure. How does that manifest itself in the Black community? And that's really what our focus became. It became, how do we show that? How do we showcase that? How do we let the community at large, but more importantly, the Black community, know that philanthropy is alive and well? for most people, if they do not see a name on a building,
they don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, and they think that only certain part of our total community are able to do that and write those big checks and get the name on the building.
Right.
It's not about just the name on the building.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you some stats that are very important just to close this off. African Americans give 8.6% of their discretionary income to charity, more than any other racial group in America.
I can believe it.
Most people don't know that.
I can believe it.
Another stat, African Americans donate 25% more of their discretionary income than do Americans of European descent.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll read is this. Nearly 2/3 of African American households give to charity, more formally to the tune of $11 billion each year. Okay? So our philanthropy, our giving of time, talent, and treasure is huge. But just like so many other things that we interface with, it is always underplayed. It's always played as though we've got our hand out. We do a lot to help ourselves.
But we're not the ones saying the narrative. Let's be perfectly candid.
That's right.
If we look at...
But that's what TSOPCLE wanted to address.
I 100% agree with you, because far too often the narrative is not set by us. And at times, the old saying was, those who survive, write the history.
You don't have to look any further than American history and the Civil War.
Right.
Okay, how did the losers get to write the history?
Right.
What's that about? Okay. What's that about? So,
I have no clue. And then if you look at that, and then, radio stations like this or programs like this, provide the opportunity, because we do need to, with the money comes responsibility, comes movement, comes change. And if I look at it in that way. I'm not sure if that's how you look at it, but I look at it in that way is we need money in order to move forward, but it's also where we're putting those money. So when your work with and celebrate those who give Black and the Cleveland Black Equity and Humanity Fund, that has provided you opportunity to focus your dollars with that, within our community. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing with this? And I already have a follow-up question, but I want you to go with that. What are some of the challenges that you are seeing in giving back, in a major way for the Black community?
So let me go back and then I'll go forward.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and talk about what those entities are.
Okay.
When we did the Soul of Philanthropy Cleveland, one of the things I was really focused on is not just the execution of this 3-month exhibit at the Cleveland History Museum, which, oh, by the way, houses the African American Archives in Cleveland, but I wanted to make sure we had some enduring products, if you would, some enduring entities that were going to go beyond that 3-month run. So we wanted to focus on 3 things. Number one, we created something called Celebrate Those Who Give Black, which is a community introspective, participatory methodology and exhibit where we have the community themselves identify people who are doing tremendous philanthropic work.
Gotcha.
We have an independent group of volunteers who created a rubric. They fill this out. They send in a lot of what do we call them? Forms that say, look, this person's doing great work. We have a separate committee that does all that. We do that every 2 years, and we just announced the class of the current cohort last Wednesday at the Cleveland History Museum with a big event. So that's something we do, and we're going to do every 2 years. So that lifts philanthropy and keeps it in the public eye, in Black philanthropy in the public eye on a regular basis.
That's Celebrate Those That Give Black. Gotcha.
And we're going to have an exhibit that has been exhibited at the Cleveland Public Library, the downtown branch, the Stokes Wing, since 2020. And then it's going to have a permanent exhibit in a permanent exhibit space in the new Martin Luther King Jr. Library that's coming online next year.
No, I got you.
Yep. So that's that.
Over there by Case.
University Circle.
I'm sorry.
The other thing we created that we wanted to endure was a fund where we could take dollars and actually make investment in catalytic change in our community, and that is the Cleveland Black Equity and Humanity Fund.
Gotcha.
The third thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to lift up the United Black Fund of Greater Cleveland. Okay.
I forgot all about that one.
Right.
I forgot all about that one.
UBF does tremendous work, and they are a beacon they're a beacon of light for entities, for 501c3s that are trying to do work in the community.
All that.
Okay. But their brand, in our opinion, wasn't what it needed to be.
Yeah.
So we decided, rather than take our funds and have them over at the Cleveland Foundation, we're going to be purposeful, because, as I said earlier, we're unapologetically black. Our funds are at United Black Fund of Greater Cleveland. And so everything we do enriches them and also allows us to be more impactful in our community. So those are the three enduring things that we went after as we executed the Soul of Philanthropy Cleveland.
So we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, I want you to give me the challenges, and then we're going to get this call to action going on. Because, once again, I have an idea of why there's some challenges, and a lot of it has to do with the negativity that we hold as a people about not only our area, but ourselves. But
you know we need a second hour, don't you?
We do, but they won't give it to me. We're going to take it out. This is Unapologetic on WOVU 95.9 FM. And we're back. Shout out to all of the Cleveland Municipal School District individuals out there doing good jobs. I've spent some time in teaching, not as a teacher, and you know what, that is a calling, 100% calling. So at any time, at any moment, you know, I always like to give a shout out to teachers. All right, so this is our call to action moment. I can't have, I guess it's that therapist in me. I cannot have a session without somebody saying how we gonna work and move forward in a positive way. So you've done a lot of work on regional boards, and you've done a lot of work in the Black community. What are some things that, if I go back to the challenges, what are some challenges in getting the dollars that we need into the hands of the people that, you know, need them, and how can I and our listeners do better?
One of the things I believe is that oftentimes money is not the issue.
You got that right. Yeah.
There's a lot of money in Northeast Ohio now. The issue oftentimes comes down to how that money is being allocated and how it is being multiplied. So one of the things that we have to be very focused on is who's doing what work, and how can we streamline the process to create a greater outcome for the same amount of money. That's something that takes a sincere look in the mirror to ask what can be combined to create something greater. You know, I'm not the 1 + 1 = 2. I'm the 1 + 1 = 100 person. My strategy tends to focus on logarithmic increase, not linear. I want to always be adding at a rate greater than what I'm receiving. And so in order to do that, it takes an honest look at how we actually put together our strategies to do what, which essentially says, here's what's needed. We agree on what's needed. And then we agree on how to respond to it, and how and what are the best entities with which to actually get this done.
Because you need that power in addition to, you need the foci, and you need the power, you know, to drive that thing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So that's one thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, your work at the KDJ group, and that's risk management and strategy, and all the things that, you know, one would definitely take for granted. If you are an individual who has, you know, a business or business plan or business idea, you have to go through the strategy process. When you're working with someone, so once again, everyone has a gift. Not everyone knows how to use that gift. When you're working with someone and you go into that mentorship, that thing that you didn't have, where are some places where individuals can go to get the type of mentorship that provides the your level, what you do is a high level, right? And it comes at a premium. But there are individuals that are starting off. Where are some places that people can go to get, effective strategies for success on an algorithmic level rather than a autopilot level once you reach at altitude?
That's probably something that I don't do, as you mentioned. But in terms of what I think, I know that there are entities that combine functionality, meaning they will help you both with understanding what it is you want to do,
right?
Providing you with ways forward, clarity, and giving you insight into funding.
Yeah.
Some of those entities might be ECDI. They might be the Urban League of Greater Cleveland, or the Urban League of wherever, because we've got a regional impacted, a few urban leagues in Northeast Ohio. But certainly the Urban League of Northeast Ohio and Marcia's team have tremendous resource, and they do a very good job in that space. So those are two that come to mind. I would also take opportunities to see what's going on and engage. If you're in technology, if you're a young person thinking about technology, you need to be at Futureland Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
You need to be inspired, but then you also need to meet some of these young, brilliant brothers and sisters and begin to talk about how they did what they're doing and how you might do what you want to do.
They also need to listen. So I'm just going to add that part. And I add that part because in this day and age, the get rich quick things doesn't actually, buy, the methodical process of looking at and assessing something and understanding that is a growth process, not a rocket process. A rocket, shoots up and then it comes down just as fast as it shoots up. But a growth process is just like a plane. It's a slow-moving entity. While mentoring others, on these boards that you are a part of, what are some things that you try, 2 to 3 things that you try to instill in young listeners attempting to, and young, I guess that's, if I'm being honest, 30, 40, right, that want to be a part of a board? What are some things that they need to do or listen to so that they can be an effective board member of some of these boards that we have in Cleveland?
Yeah, truthfully, Eric, the boards that I serve on are different types of boards. I think what you're speaking to are maybe nonprofit organizations and those types of things that are in the community. And I think the first thing that you need to be able to do is you need to be able to I think it's important to have an understanding of what the mission of that entity is, and have an interest in that mission, right? It always helps a lot. You mentioned the whole point about listening, and that's a big deal. One of the things, if you heard what I said earlier, I sit here before you after a career that included quite a run learning, really learning.
Right.
So at the base of my structure is education, and then experience, and now application, right? And so one of the things I've noticed is a lot of our folks, and sometimes a lot of our young folks, they're not interested in some of that early stuff. They don't believe they need a certain amount of education anymore. They don't believe that they need to understand how things. They just want to go.
Right.
I applaud and never want to tear down the ambition.
Exactly.
However, I always ask the question about what undergirds the dream.
What's the foundation?
Absolutely. What is your foundation? You have to have a firm foundation, because this is a tough world out here.
It is.
You'll get knocked back.
And ain't nobody coming to save you. Can you please? That's the other part. And I'm sorry, we had other stuff I was going to add. But this is the interesting part, that the idea that no one is coming to save you but God and you. Those are the only two entities that are coming to save you.
That's right.
And in doing the work that you do, and what I was really looking at, so there's the Volunteer Boards of Association website, I think. that's how I think that's the name of the website. BVU,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's how I found the Art Therapy Studios to be a board member. Shout out to the Art Therapy Studios. With that said, to go back to this point, this idea that someone is going to provide you with something simply for you existing is not there.
No.
When you when you see that in a young brother who still wants to listen, how do you, for you, how do you circumvent that idea that they're still there, but they're getting the wrong message and using the wrong tools?
I'm very careful about telling people what not to do.
Yeah.
I spend more time telling them about what I did and how I did it.
Yeah.
And then I tell them it's up to them as to how they do it.
How to roll through.
Yeah, because I don't want to kill anybody's dream.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tell them to do it my way.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to tell you, if you're going to talk to me, I can only tell you what I did.
Okay.
And I can tell you, here's the other thing I tell everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to help you, if you want me to be engaged with you, please understand that my goal, my mission, if I talk to anybody, is that you need to be able to get to whatever you call success faster than I did, and your success needs to be higher than because, quite frankly, if it doesn't, what difference did I make for you?
Exactly.
If it takes you as long as it took me to get wherever you think I am, what good was I? You have to get there faster and be better.
And that's how I go. We got a couple minutes, so because they will kick us out. They will kick us out. We got a couple minutes. First of all, thank you once again for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being here. Before we roll out, what are two quick points you want our listeners to actually have?
Well, that's a tough one. I can only tell you my foundation.
Okay.
My foundation, you might refer to it as the phonetic four.
Yeah.
Faith, family, finance, philanthropy.
Okay.
Okay. Now, why is that important? Faith is my bedrock.
Yeah.
Right. Family is critical. So, Connie and I, we roll.
Right.
Okay.
Together.
Finance, you can't as my pastor would say, ain't nothing worse than a broke philanthropist.
Right. Right. You got a lot of heart but no money.
You ain't no money.
Right.
You have to have some resources.
Right.
And you have to know where those resources are.
Exactly.
So a lot of my time I spend with where those resources are.
Okay.
And understanding how to apply those resources.
Okay. We got to jump up out of here before they get up out of it. But thank you so much,
right. My
Brother
pleasure.
Johnson.
Anytime.
Just look him up. He's at the KDJ group as well as Next Gen. He got the EV robots and automation.
Yes, sir.
Man,
yes,
in
sir.
black spaces.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're gonna get up out of here. Next week we got brother to brother. We got the black folks in here. We're gonna talk about something. It's always black folks in here. I shouldn't say it like that. But in any case, I really appreciate everybody for listening. Appreciate everybody for being here, and you guys have a great day. Peace.